Good evening, everyone. I'm the storyteller, Mr. 13 O'Clock, and tonight I'll lead you into the dark with these 13 eerie horror stories on birthday. But before we begin, 99% of viewers haven't subscribed, so please do subscribe and help grow the channel. I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time the night calls you. Leave a comment below. Now, settle in and let the stories begin.
When Emily turned 9, her mother decided to throw her the kind of birthday party every little girl dreams of. Balloons, cake, a magician, and nearly 20 classmates running wild in their backyard. The sun was out, the grass was still wet from last night's rain, and her dad had spent an hour trying to get the streamer arch to stay upright. It was perfect, or at least it seemed that way. The day passed quickly. Pictures were taken, laughter echoed across the lawn, and Emily, usually a shy, reserved kid, had never looked so alive. But it wasn't until later that night, after the guests had left and the sky turned violet, that something strange began to stir. Emily's mom sat scrolling through the digital photos on her camera, smiling at the snapshots. But then she paused. In nearly every group photo, whether it was kids at the cake table or running through the backyard, there was a tall figure standing just at the edge of the frame. A man, always distant, always still. His features were indistinct, like the camera lens had failed to focus on him. But there was something undeniably wrong about him. She assumed it was a parent who'd stuck around, maybe someone from Emily's school. But when she asked her husband, he frowned. He hadn't seen anyone like that. Neither had Emily. They brushed it off. Glitch in the camera. Light trick. Someone's dad in the wrong place at the wrong time. But as the days passed, Emily began to change. She stopped sleeping. She refused to go into the backyard. And when she spoke, it was always about the man in the party hat. Her mother pressed her gently. "What man, sweetie?" Emily whispered. "He said he came for cake, but he didn't eat any." That night, she woke up screaming. 3:09 a.m. Her parents ran to her room. She was pale, cold to the touch, eyes fixed on the dark corner of the room where the shadows seemed thicker than they should have been. When asked what happened, she said, "He was here." He was smiling. His hat was red this time. Over the next week, Emily's birthday photos vanished from her mother's phone. One by one. First the group shots, then the cake cutting, then the candid ones of Emily smiling. They weren't deleted, just gone. The storage space hadn't changed. The files didn't even show up as corrupted. It was as if they'd never existed. Only one photo remained. It was of Emily blowing out her candles. And right behind her, clear now, not blurry, was the man. Not smiling, not even looking at the camera, just watching her, like he was waiting. Emily refused to sleep in her room after that. She began counting her steps before entering any room. Always 13. No more, no less. She claimed the man told her it was the only way to keep him from getting closer. Her parents, though terrified, tried everything. Counseling, sleep therapy, even replacing the mattress. Nothing helped. Then, on the night of her 10th birthday, something strange happened. They didn't celebrate. No candles, no guests, no cake. Just the three of them, quiet at the dinner table. Emily insisted on it. And at 3:09 a.m., Emily woke up again. But this time, she wasn't screaming. She was standing by the window, calm, smiling faintly. When her mother asked her what she was doing, she said, "He stopped coming." "Why?" "Because I didn't invite him." And that was it. She never spoke of him again. The photos never reappeared. But sometimes, when the wind rattled the windows or shadows moved just a bit too slowly across the hallway, her parents felt it. That same stillness. That breath held too long. That flicker in the corner of the eye. Like someone was waiting for the wrong party to begin again. So next time you light the candles and sing the song, think about who might be listening, watching, waiting for an invitation that comes not through a card, but through habit. Because some guests don't need a door, just a reason to return. And sometimes, all it takes is blowing out the candles. Ella liked celebrating her birthdays alone. Not because she lacked friends, but because birthdays always made her feel strangely hollow, like she was marking time in a life that didn't quite feel like hers. This year, she booked a night at a boutique hotel just outside Asheville. It had the kind of charm that felt handpicked from an Instagram reel. Exposed brick walls, Edison bulbs, and vintage radios that only played soft static. She didn't mind. In fact, she liked the stillness. The clerk at the front desk was pleasant but oddly insistent. "We've just reopened room 304 after some touch-ups. It's got a mountain view and clawfoot tub. Great for relaxing." Ella smiled politely, too tired to question his choice. Room 304 was exactly as he described. Clean, cozy, with just a hint of something old beneath the fresh paint and lavender-scented linens. She unpacked her overnight bag, lit a single candle for ambience, and poured a glass of red wine. That night, the hotel was quiet. Only a few other cars in the lot. No hallway noise. No late-night footsteps. But at 3:04 a.m., something woke her. A soft giggle. Not outside. Not in the hall. From behind a bathroom mirror. Ella froze. Listened. Nothing. Just the hum of the old radiator. She chuckled to herself, blaming the wine and the power of suggestion. Maybe the vintage vibes were getting to her. But the next night, it happened again. Same time, 3:04 a.m. This time, the light in the bathroom flickered. Once. Twice. Then the bulb popped with a faint hiss. She didn't go in. She pulled the blankets up, heart pounding, and forced her eyes shut. The third night was worse. Ella had decided to extend her stay. Why? She couldn't really say. She told herself it was for the quiet, the solitude. But part of her couldn't leave. Not yet. That night, as the clock neared 3 o'clock, she didn't even try to sleep. At exactly 3:04 a.m., the air turned cold. Not drafty. Cold, like stepping into a walk-in freezer. Then she heard the giggling again, closer this time. Not from the mirror. From the closet. Her breath caught in her throat. She crept over, bare feet silent on the wooden floor. The closet door stood slightly ajar. She reached out, opened it. Empty, but scratched into the inside of the door in jagged, childlike letters. "I like your face." Ella stepped back. Her vision blurred for a moment. Her ears rang. She packed her things at dawn and went to the front desk to check out. The clerk looked confused. "Miss Ryder, I thought you were staying through the weekend." "I changed my mind." He hesitated. "You were in 304, right?" She nodded. He glanced at the computer. "That's strange. That room was supposed to be blocked off until next week. We've had complaints. A woman last fall said the lights kept flickering and she heard a child's voice whispering through the pipes." Ella blinked. What happened to her? He lowered his voice. She left a note in the Bible drawer. Said the room wasn't hers. That it belonged to a girl named Elena. Said she dreamed of drowning every night. Ella's heart dropped. That night, she couldn't sleep in her own apartment. Everything felt wrong. Too warm. Too quiet. At 3:04 a.m., her phone buzzed. No caller ID. She answered it. A soft giggle. Then a whisper. "You took my room." She blocked the number. Turned off her phone. But the next night, it rang again. Same time. Same whisper. Ella moved out of her apartment within the week. She tried to forget room 304. But it didn't forget her. Every year on her birthday, at exactly 3:04 a.m., her lights flicker. And she swears she can hear breathing right behind the mirror. Liam turned 12 on the coldest March evening in his town's recent memory. The storm hit unexpectedly, an angry swirl of wind and sleet that knocked out the power halfway through his small birthday gathering. The laughter died with the lights. His parents hurried to calm the handful of guests, passing out blankets and apologizing for the outage. The guests trickled out quickly after that, leaving behind a half-eaten cake, unopened presents, and Liam, still wearing his paper crown, still waiting for the part he looked forward to most, the candles. His mother lit 12 red candles on the cake anyway, their small flickers the only light in the house now. "Make a wish, birthday boy," she smiled, trying to recover the mood. He leaned in and whispered something under his breath. Then he blew. Once. Twice. 3 times. The candles didn't budge. His breath, visible in the cold air, danced around them. But the flames stood tall, unmoving, silent, impossibly bright, like they were burning through something thicker than wax. His father chuckled nervously. "Try again, sport." Liam blew again, harder this time. His cheeks flushed, but the candles refused. The air grew colder. His mother tried next. Then his father. Nothing. Eventually, they laughed it off. Lit matches often acted funny in drafts, right? His mom snuffed them one by one with wet fingers, leaving behind 12 wisps of smoke. But Liam's wish lingered, and the house never warmed back up. That night, long after the candles had been thrown out and the guests forgotten, Liam sat up in bed. The power hadn't returned. His flashlight had died, and the only source of light came from beneath his door, a low red flicker, pulsing like breath. He stepped in the hallway barefoot. The floor was cold. Not winter cold, wrong cold, like standing next to something that shouldn't exist. Downstairs, the kitchen glowed, and there on the counter sat the cake. Fresh again, 12 red candles lit. No one had relit them. He called for his parents, but his voice sounded swallowed. Muted, he stepped forward. His legs moved, though he didn't feel them. It was like something was pulling. And when he reached the cake, the flames leaned toward him. Blow them out, a voice whispered. Not aloud. Inside his head. He did. They didn't go out. Instead, the flames grew taller. They twisted, forming shapes, arms, faces, something screaming without sound. In the glass window behind the counter, Liam saw his reflection. But it wasn't him. It was a version of him that looked a year older. Same eyes, but tired. Same mouth, but split into a subtle smirk. That version of Liam reached out, and the candlelight bent toward the glass, as if bridging the gap. Liam backed away. He turned and saw 12 candles hovering in the air behind him, floating in a perfect circle. Each flame whispered his name. The smell of burnt sugar turned to sulfur. Then came the knock. Not on the door, on the window. From the inside, Liam ran to his parents' room, but they didn't wake. He shook them, yelled, but they didn't respond. They just lay there, eyes open, flickering red candlelight dancing across their motionless faces. He screamed, and the lights came back on. Suddenly, the house was full of noise again. His parents stirred, groggy, confused. The kitchen was empty. No candles, no cake, no glowing glass. They told him it had been a bad dream. But Liam didn't sleep that night. The next morning, his mother found 12 perfect burn marks on the counter, as if the candles had never moved. She said nothing, but when she pulled the trash bin out to toss the breakfast scraps, she paused. The candles they had tossed the night before weren't there. Neither was the cake. Over the following weeks, Liam began changing. He refused to be near candles. He would flinch even at the sight of a birthday card. He stopped speaking about that night entirely, until a school counselor pressed him. She asked gently, "Why do you think the candles wouldn't go out, Liam?" He looked at her with eyes far too old for 12 and answered, "Because I wished for time to stop. I didn't want to be 12. I didn't want to grow up." And something heard me. Something answered. The counselor said it was symbolic, a psychological coping mechanism. But Liam never returned to school. His parents moved away by summer, left no forwarding address. And a few years later, a new family moved into the house. They had a daughter. She turned 12 in March. The power went out that night during her birthday dinner. The parents, unbothered, lit some red candles. The daughter leaned in to blow them out, and the flames leaned back as if they were waiting. She always hated her birthday, not because of the aging or the attention, but because every April 17th, something felt wrong. Off. It was subtle at first. A pressure in her chest she couldn't explain. A shadow that lingered too long in her peripheral vision. And a cold, creeping thought. This day isn't just mine. Alyssa had always felt like she was being watched. Not by strangers or stalkers, but by someone familiar, like a memory trying to crawl back into her life. By the time she turned 18, it was more than a feeling. It was a presence. That morning started like any other. Balloons taped sloppily to her door by her mom, a text from her best friend, and a single slice of strawberry cake on a plate. Her favorite, even though she couldn't remember ever asking for it. Her mom insisted it had always been her favorite. "We used to make it for both of you," she said with a nostalgic smile. Alyssa froze. "Both of who?" Her mom blinked. "I meant all of us. You and me. Don't worry about it, sweetheart. It's your special day. But that wasn't what she said. Alyssa was sure of it. She heard it clearly. We used to make it for both of you. That night, while cleaning out boxes in the attic, something her mom had begged her not to do, Alyssa found an old photo album wrapped in newspaper. No labels, just dust, mold, and a deep sense of dread before she even opened it. Inside were baby photos. Some were of her, but some weren't. There was a second crib, a second name embroidered on a bib, Amber, and a final picture, one she didn't remember taking. A birthday shot, maybe age 4. 2 girls, identical, one smiling, one staring directly into the camera, unsmiling, eyes slightly too wide. The writing on the back, Alyssa and Amber, 2009. Last photo together. She confronted her mom that night. After a long pause, her mom finally said it. You were twins. Amber was stillborn. We never told you because, well, how do you explain that to a child? But we always felt like she was still with us. Alyssa wanted to scream, cry, anything, but she felt hollow. And then the dreams began. Every night that week, she'd wake at exactly 3:17 a.m. The dreams were always the same. Her standing in a dark room, facing a mirror, but her reflection wasn't hers. It was Amber's. Same face, but colder. Off. As if Amber had lived, just not in the way anyone expected. In the dream, Amber always said the same thing. You took my birthday. The line blurred between dream and waking life. One morning, Alyssa found scratches under her bed, tiny lines etched into the wood. 13 of them. She didn't remember doing it. She didn't remember sleepwalking either. But her fingernails were caked with splinters. On the night of her birthday party, friends gathered in her basement. Streamers, laughter, candles. But Alyssa wasn't there. She'd been upstairs, in front of the mirror again. This time, not asleep. This time, fully awake. She looked into her reflection and saw herself, and someone else behind her. Amber, silent, smiling. I don't want the whole day, Amber whispered through the glass. Just the half that was mine. And then the lights flickered. The candles downstairs blew out on their own. All the photos from the night turned up blank. Just empty space where Alyssa should have been standing. Her friend said she came downstairs, but she didn't speak. She didn't smile. She just stared. When they sang, "Happy Birthday," she didn't move. When they asked what was wrong, she said, "I'm not Alyssa." She disappeared later that night. The only thing left behind was her mirror, smashed, fractured down the middle, like a line drawn between two halves of a whole. Her mother told the police she was sleepwalking, that she was under stress. But in her heart, she knew the truth. She never had one daughter. She had 2, and maybe for 18 years, they had been sharing one life. One heartbeat, one birthday, until the moment one of them finally decided to take it back. It was his 10th birthday when he made the wish. Luca sat at the end of the table, surrounded by flickering candles and the faint smell of overcooked frosting. The lights were dimmed, just as his mom liked it for ambience. His father, distant but smiling, had lit all 10 candles. It should have been a happy night. But Luca didn't feel happy. He didn't say it out loud. He didn't need to. His parents had been arguing all day. Whispers behind closed doors, tense silences, muttered comments about custody. So when the lights dimmed and everyone leaned in as his mother said, "Make a wish, baby," Luca only thought of one thing. I wish I never had to grow up. He blew out the candles, every single one, and the room fell strangely silent. The warmth of the flame seemed to linger longer than it should have. The smoke curled toward the ceiling in slow spirals, like fingers stretching towards something unseen. The other children clapped. The moment passed. No one noticed anything odd, except for Luca. That night, he had the first dream. He was standing in the middle of the same birthday party, but everyone else was frozen. The cake hadn't been cut. The balloons were deflated. His mother's eyes stared straight ahead, unblinking. A figure stood in the far corner. A boy, same age, same size, same face. The boy smiled. "You made it. Now you can stay." A year passed, then another. Everyone around Luca changed. Grutayer, older, but Luca stayed the same. Doctors were baffled. Tests came back normal. His metabolism, height, weight, even his voice unchanged. At first, his mother laughed it off. "You're lucky. You'll thank me when you're 30. But by the time Luca should have hit puberty, the laughter turned into late-night phone calls. The specialists, the pills, nothing worked. By age 16, he still looked 10. Kids started calling him the forever boy. He moved schools, then towns. His mother homeschooled him to avoid the questions. His father stopped visiting altogether. But Luca never changed. Not physically. On the inside, something was shifting. He stopped sleeping. The dreams were getting worse. Every night, the other version of himself would appear, older, thinner, almost translucent, like something wearing his skin. It would whisper things. "You can't run from this. A wish is a deal. You said the words. You lit the gate. Now you're part of us." On his 25th birthday, Luca sat alone in a motel room 2 towns away from where he was born. He didn't like candles. Didn't eat cake. He didn't even want to see his reflection anymore. Always stuck in the face of a child while his mind grew heavy with age. But something strange happened that night. The power went out. A single candle, resting on the desk beside him, lit by itself. The flame burned cold blue. He heard the boy's voice again. Only this time, it was coming from the mirror. "You never asked what the price was." Luca backed away, heart pounding. The figure stepped through the glass. Not a dream, not a vision. It was him, but older, emaciated, gray-skinned. Hollow-eyed, the version that should have been. The one who never got to live. "You stole time from me," it rasped. The light flickered. The candle dimmed. "Now I take it back." When the motel staff entered the room the next morning, they found only a melted candle and a child-size hoodie lying on the bed. The air smelled faintly of smoke and birthday cake. No sign of a guest ever checking in. No ID, no name, no trace. But since then, there have been sightings. Photos, videos, blurry security footage of a boy in a red hoodie, appearing in the backgrounds of birthday parties across the country. Always 10 years old, never blinking, always watching the candles. Kids claim he whispers to them when no one's around. Tells them about a wish they can make if they really mean it. A wish to never grow up. A wish to freeze time. Some laugh it off. Others don't. And every year, one child disappears. Always on their birthday. Always after the candles go out. And in their place, a blue flame flickers just once, before vanishing into the dark. It started with a simple mistake, an envelope tucked inside the wrong mailbox. Mara lived alone in a quiet apartment complex just outside Denver. She had moved there 3 months ago after a messy breakup, craving solitude, a fresh start, and the kind of peace you only find in silence. Her neighbors mostly kept to themselves, which suited her fine. It was the evening of March 12th, one day before her birthday, when she found it. A pale blue card slipped in her mailbox. The handwriting was neat, delicate, almost childlike. There was no return address, just her name. Mara assumed it was from her sister, maybe a day early, but when she opened it, confusion trickled in. Inside, the card read, "Happy birthday, you're next." There was no signature, no jokes, just those 5 words in the same loopy handwriting. The kind you'd expect from an old greeting card, almost too perfect. She stared at it for a few minutes. You're next for what? A promotion? A joke? Maybe it was meant for someone else. Maybe it was a mistake. Still, something about the card stuck with her. The phrase burrowed in the back of her mind, sharp and unwelcome. That night, she dreamed of a party, dimly lit, faint music, her apartment but off. She stood in her living room wearing a paper party hat. The room was empty except for one thing, a single white cake with black icing, written on top in jagged cursive. You're next. She woke in a cold sweat. By morning, the card was gone. She checked the counter, the floor, the trash. Nothing. Had she thrown it out without thinking? Was it part of the dream? At exactly 3:33 p.m., her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Happy birthday, Mara. Smiley face. Cake's coming. She dropped her phone. No one knew her number. She'd changed it after the breakup. She hadn't given it out, not even to her co-workers. The message disappeared a few seconds later. Not deleted, just gone, like it had never existed. That evening, a knock echoed through the apartment. Mara jumped. When she opened the door, no one was there. Only a small white box sitting neatly on the doormat. No markings, no label. She brought it inside carefully, half expecting it to explode or hum or bleed. It didn't. Inside was a miniature cake, frosted in white with a single burning candle. And on the side of the box, written in black Sharpie, "Make a wish, birthday girl." She stared at the flickering candle, unsure whether to laugh, scream, or run. That's when she noticed there were no footprints, no signs of someone having approached her door, no delivery truck, no sound. She blew out the candle, and the lights went out. All of them. The TV flickered to static. Her phone went dead. Outside, the entire apartment complex seemed frozen. Even the streetlights, off. The kind of dark that feels wrong, like something ancient pressing against the glass. In the corner of her living room, the shadows deepened. Not just dark void, it pulled inward, forming the outline of someone watching. Mara stepped back, nearly tripping over her coffee table. She grabbed her flashlight from the drawer, flicked it on, and shone it at the shadow. There was no one there, except in the beam of light she saw them. Fingerprints, all over the walls, smudging toward the kitchen. Not hers. Too big, too many, and every single one of them pointed to the same thing. A second card, now sitting on the countertop. It hadn't been there before. She picked it up with shaking hands. This one read, "Thank you for playing. One more to go." Below it, scrawled almost like an afterthought, "Tell Sam it's his turn now." She dropped the card. She didn't know any Sam, but she would soon. The next day, she scoured her apartment. New locks, new number, everything reset. The world outside returned to normal. But Mara couldn't shake the feeling. Something had happened. Something no one would believe. Weeks passed. She forgot a little. Life crept back in, until she received a voicemail. No caller ID, just a whisper. "Happy early birthday, Sam. You're next." It was supposed to be a small birthday party. Just close family, a few friends from school, and some cupcakes in the backyard. No bounce house, no magician, no clown. But when 7-year-old Eliza looked out the window that morning, there he was, a clown, standing perfectly still on the other side of the fence. He wasn't holding balloons. He didn't wave or smile. Just stood there in a faded blue costume, the paint on his face slightly cracked as if it had been applied days ago and never touched up. His eyes weren't joyful, just wide, unblinking, watching. At first, Eliza thought he was part of the surprise. But when she asked her mom about the clown, her mom blinked in confusion. "What clown, honey?" Eliza pointed out the window. But he was gone. The party went on. Kids played tag, adults chatted under umbrellas, and her dad lit the candles on the cake shaped like a ladybug, Eliza's favorite. Just as they sang "Happy Birthday," a strange hush fell over the backyard. Not silence, exactly, more like the sound had been sucked away. No birds, no wind. The candles flickered sideways, though there was no breeze. That's when Eliza saw him again, standing just beyond the hedges this time, half hidden, still watching. Her dad looked up, confused. "Did one of you hire entertainment?" he asked the group. Everyone shook their heads, because there's a guy in a clown suit back there. They went to check. Nothing. Later that evening, after everyone had left and the house was quiet again, Eliza opened her gifts in the living room. Her parents were in the kitchen, cleaning up. She reached for a small red box that hadn't been there before. No tag, no wrapping paper, just a box, perfectly square, tied with a black ribbon. Inside was a balloon animal, twisted into the shape of a dog. It smelled like old grease paint and something faintly sour. The rubber was sticky, too warm. Eliza showed her parents. They assumed it was from one of the guests who forgot to sign their card. But that night, as she lay in bed, she could hear the balloon dog squeak, as if it were shifting ever so slightly on its own. She turned on her nightlight. The balloon was no longer on her shelf. It was on the floor, closer to her bed. The next day, Eliza wouldn't stop talking about the clown. "He keeps watching me," her mom reassured her. Probably just a neighbor's costume. Or maybe someone had walked through the park and ended up behind the house by mistake. But by the third day, Eliza stopped speaking. She wouldn't eat, wouldn't respond. Just sat in her room, eyes fixed on the closet door. Her father finally opened it in front of her to show it was empty. But he didn't see the faint red footprints inside. Tiny, like they belonged to a child-sized clown. And they were facing outward. They threw out the balloon dog. The next morning, 3 more had appeared in the living room. A dog, a giraffe, a twisted shape that didn't look like anything at all. Its neck was long and looped, and it smelled even worse than the first. They called the police. There was no sign of forced entry. No prints. No witnesses. Just a faint sound captured on a baby monitor still sitting in Eliza's room. A slow, wet squeaking like latex being twisted over and over. And something whispering, "Happy birthday." Eliza's parents installed cameras. That night, around 3:08 a.m., one of them caught movement. Frame by frame, you could see something step into view. A clown, again, but clearer now. The costume was rotted at the sleeves. His gloves were gone, revealing long, pale fingers with cracked fingernails. The face paint was smeared. His mouth, unnaturally wide, stretched to his ears. But what chilled them most was that he didn't move like a man. He tilted. His arms hung like wires, limp and swaying. His head twitched every few seconds, like a puppet suspended by strings. And in his hands, he carried a cake. A crooked one, slumping to one side, topped with a single candle. He placed it on the ground, turned to the camera, and waved. Eliza's family moved out within a week. They left the house furnished, sold it below market value, and never looked back. But the new owners? They found something strange in the basement a few months later. Behind the insulation, a box of old birthday decorations, faded streamers, candles, deflated balloons, photos, 13 different birthdays, all children between the ages of 6 and 8. In each photo, there was a clown in the background, always watching, always slightly out of focus. But in the last photo, taken only a year before Eliza was born, he wasn't standing in the background anymore. He was front and center, kneeling, one hand on the shoulder of a child who didn't look entirely alive. And he was smiling. To this day, no one knows who the clown was. No local performers matched the costume. No company claimed responsibility. And yet, every year, around the same date, that neighborhood still receives reports of a strange figure standing outside, watching the homes where a child's birthday is being celebrated. Always silent, always still, always waiting. It was Evelyn's 26th birthday, a quiet celebration, just how she liked it. After years of chaotic parties, Evelyn had chosen peace. Dinner with her boyfriend, a phone call from her mother, and some solitude in her apartment surrounded by books, candles, and soft music. But there was one thing she hadn't expected. A gift, sitting on her doorstep. No note, no tag, no sign of who left it. It was wrapped in dull gray paper. Not festive, not cheerful, almost clinical. And it was cold to the touch. Heavier than it should have been. At first, Evelyn laughed it off. Maybe it was from a neighbor or her boyfriend trying to pull a prank. She brought it inside, placed it on her coffee table, and stared at it while sipping her tea. But the longer she stared, the more it unsettled her. The wrapping was too neat. The corners folded with surgical precision. There were no fingerprints, no tape, just perfectly creased edges, as if it hadn't been wrapped, but sealed. Still, curiosity won. She opened it. Inside was a music box. Old, Victorian style, black wood brass trim. She wound it up. The melody was unfamiliar, gentle but dissonant, like a lullaby written by someone who'd never heard music before. As the tune played, something strange happened. The air in the room grew denser. Her ears popped, like she was changing altitude. Then the lights dimmed, just slightly, just enough to notice. Then the smell, like old earth, like something unearthed, something that had waited far too long. She slammed the lid shut. Silence returned, but the damage was done. Over the next few days, Evelyn began noticing changes. Small at first. Objects were out of place, keys, cups, her phone. But not stolen, just relocated, rearranged. She began waking at exactly 2:26 a.m., the same time she was born, always from the same dream. A long hallway, endless doors, and at the very end, a box. The same one, always unopened. She asked her boyfriend if he'd left the gift. He hadn't. Neither had her mother. Her neighbors denied seeing anyone at her door that night. She checked her building's security footage. The hallway cam cut out from 8:12 to 8:15 p.m. The exact window she estimated the package must have arrived. No data, just static. And when the footage returned, the box was there. She tried throwing it away. First, in the trash chute. It reappeared on her kitchen counter. Then she drove it across town, dropped it into a donation bin. The next morning, it sat on her bed. Open. The music box now had a mirror inside. And when she looked in, she didn't see herself. Not quite. The reflection resembled her. But the face didn't blink when she did. Didn't smile. Just stared. Her health declined. She developed migraines. Nosebleeds. Her skin grew pale. Her voice grew hoarse, like she was being choked from the inside. Doctors found nothing. Her scans were clear. Her blood normal. But she felt hollow, like something inside her had been scooped out and replaced with something else. Desperate, Evelyn contacted an old professor, Dr. Morrow, a retired folklore scholar who had dabbled in European occultism. When he saw the box, his demeanor changed. He didn't touch it, didn't get close. He simply said, "Where did you get this?" She explained. He took a deep breath, then whispered, "That's not a gift. That's an invitation." He told her of an obscure custom practiced in forgotten corners of Eastern Europe. They believed that time was circular, that a person's birth created a ripple, and that ripple attracted things. On the 26th year, the circle closes. And for some, something else answers the ripple. Something ancient. The gift, he said, is a vessel. Not for her, for what wanted through. He gave her one piece of advice. Do not open it again. And whatever you do not accept what it offers. But of course, she did. One night, driven by exhaustion and fear, Evelyn sat in front of the box. The room was dark. The candlelight flickered unnaturally, shadows dancing against physics. She opened it. Inside was a second compartment, one she hadn't noticed before. Inside, a tiny key and a note. In handwriting she didn't recognize, but somehow did, it read, "Return what was borrowed." Suddenly, the walls around her trembled. The apartment warped, elongated, like she was inside a tunnel instead of a room. She tried to run, but her body froze. The music began playing on its own. That warped, eerie lullaby filled the space, and she realized what the melody was. Her own heartbeat, slowed, distorted, reversed. Then darkness. When she woke, it was morning. The box was gone. The air was light again. The headaches vanished. Her color returned. It was as if nothing had happened, except for one thing. In her closet was a second Evelyn, motionless, pale, eyes closed, like a wax figure, or a shell. She called the police. They searched, found nothing, no body, no evidence. But Evelyn knew. She'd returned what was borrowed. Some say the gift was never meant for her in the first place. Others say she was meant to give something back. Her health, her sleep, her reflection. The music box gave her time. And on her 26th birthday, it came to collect. So if you ever find a package at your door, no sender, no name, don't open it. Especially if it's on your birthday. Because some gifts aren't meant to be unwrapped. They're meant to remember you. And they always find their way back. Birthdays were always a big deal in the LaRue household. Custom decorations, themed parties, music, laughter. It was the kind of celebration you'd expect to find in a cheerful family movie. But this year felt different. Everything started when Elena turned 11. Her mother had ordered a cake from a local bakery they'd never tried before. The old place they usually used had suddenly closed down overnight without explanation. So when they found Gaspard's Bakery tucked between a pawn shop and an abandoned laundromat, they figured it was a lucky discovery. The man behind the counter was thin, pale, and overly polite. His smile didn't match his eyes. Elena's mother described the kind of cake they wanted, a simple vanilla with purple icing and butterflies. The man nodded, but when he repeated it back, his voice cracked slightly. Of course, 11 candles, and the whispering starts. She laughed it off as a weird accent or a joke she didn't understand. The cake arrived the next morning. It looked perfect. Butterflies sculpted from marzipan, soft lavender frosting, and neatly piped writing. Happy birthday, Elena. But something about it unsettled her. Not just the smell, which had a strange, earthy sweetness, but the way the box was still warm. Not fresh-baked warm, breathing warm. Still, the party went on. Family, friends, games, photos, and eventually, the moment everyone waited for, the cake. The lights dimmed. Everyone sang. Elena smiled as she closed her eyes and made her wish. But when she leaned in to blow out the candles, she froze. Everyone saw it. She stood there, stiff, eyes wide, lips slightly parted. "What's wrong, honey?" her mother asked, but Elena didn't respond. After a tense moment, she finally blew out the candles, slowly, one by one. The room was silent, and then she whispered, barely audible. "The cake is whispering back." Everyone thought it was a joke, a prank, maybe something she'd seen on TikTok. But Elena didn't laugh. She refused to eat a single slice. She wouldn't go near it. Later that night, her parents dismissed the incident as nerves or attention-seeking. But just before midnight, Elena walked into their room, her eyes glassy, her voice calm. "It wants me to listen. It says I was born on a threshold." Her mother sat up. "Who says that, baby?" Elena's gaze flicked toward the hallway. The voice in the middle, between the layers. "It's louder now." They didn't understand what she meant until they opened the fridge the next morning. The cake looked wrong. Not spoiled, not moldy, just off. The layers inside had shifted slightly, like something had breathed and moved during the night. The frosting was cracked like dry skin, and faintly, only if you stood very close, you could hear a sound. Not quite a whisper, not quite static, like breath caught in a throat. Her father threw the cake out that afternoon. But that night, Elena began speaking in her sleep. Full conversations. Pauses, responses, listening. The words made no sense. "I know the gate is shut. Yes, 11 is not enough. I won't open it, I swear." Her mother recorded one of the episodes. She played it back dozens of times. And in the silence between Elena's sentences was another voice. Faint, gravelly, saying things like, "We're hungry. The icing is flesh. The candles are keys." On the third night, the whispers changed. They became urgent, desperate, begging her to cut the center. She finally snapped the next morning. She took the kitchen knife and went outside, where her dad had dumped the cake into the trash bin. But the bin was empty. They hadn't taken the trash out. It had vanished. They checked the neighbors' cameras. Around 3:12 a.m., the bin had trembled and the lid opened. The video cut to static. When it resumed, the bin was empty. And for a single frame, a shape was visible at the edge of the driveway. Small, childlike, covered in something white and sticky, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. They moved shortly after. Elena's mother did more research. Deep in internet forums and esoteric blogs, she found old European legends about birth cakes, ancient traditions where cakes weren't celebratory, but sacrificial. A birthday was not a celebration of life, but a temporary closing of a veil. A moment where something tried to be born through us. And 11, according to one obscure text, was the year of listening. The year when the veil first whispers your name. They never celebrated birthdays again. But a year later, on the night Elena would have turned 12, a cake appeared on their doorstep. No note, no delivery, just a single slice, already missing. Ever since moving into the house on Briar Ridge Lane, Lena noticed something off about the dining room. It wasn't just the cracked chandelier or the water-stained wallpaper. It was the faint scent of birthday cake, even when none had been baked. The house had stood empty for years before Lena bought it. A fixer-upper she saw as a fresh start. She had no family, no partner, just a hope that a new space would help her escape the weight of her past. The first strange thing happened on her birthday. She hadn't told anyone. She hadn't posted about it. She hadn't even bought herself a slice of cake. But that morning, when she walked into the dining room, the table was set. A long, dusty wooden table that she never used. Now cleared off and neatly arranged with mismatched porcelain plates, each with a tiny silver spoon placed at its side. At the center, a round cake. pale pink frosting, 13 candles. She stared at it for a full minute before blinking. The cake was gone. The plates? Dust covered again, just as they'd been the night before. Maybe she was tired, overworked, or maybe, just maybe, her mind was playing tricks on her. She left it alone until the next year. This time, she set an alarm. Midnight, just to see. When the clock struck 12, her entire house went silent. Not quiet, silent. No wind, no humming fridge, no creaking pipes. And then came the music. Soft, distant, a warped recording of Happy Birthday. It sounded like it was playing from a vinyl record too old to function. Lena grabbed her phone, crept toward the dining room, and peeked around the corner. This time, it wasn't just a table. There were people, or at least shapes, dark, translucent outlines sitting perfectly still in each chair. 11 of them, each with a slumped posture, faces impossible to make out. Each one turning, slowly, methodically, toward the head of the table. And seated at the head was a little girl. Long, straight black hair, a paper crown tilted on her head, and her eyes closed tightly as though she were dreaming. Lena's breath caught in her throat. Then every candle on the cake ignited, one by one, like invisible fingers striking a match. And as the last one lit, the girl opened her eyes. They locked with Lena's. Everything vanished. Lena fell backward, heart hammering. Her phone had recorded nothing, just static. She didn't sleep that night. She spent the next year trying to rationalize it. Stress, hallucination, maybe gas leaks, though a professional inspection found nothing. But when the third year approached, Lena decided she wouldn't be in the house. She booked a cabin 3 towns over. Left days before her birthday. Disconnected. No electronics. No reminders. Still, at midnight, her candlelit cabin flickered dark. And through the silence, the music came again. This time, closer. Lena held her breath. When she turned, she saw frosting smeared across the cabin's mirror. A single word, written backward. What? She returned to her house the next morning and found the dining room, just as she had the year before. Empty, cold, but now with a new detail. A photograph pinned to the wall. Old, black and white. A little girl at a birthday party. And behind her, the faint, blurred outline of someone who looked exactly like Lena. She dug into the house's history. In 1972, a girl named Clara lived in the house. She died on her 13th birthday. The cause was unknown. No wounds, no poisoning. Just stopped breathing. Her family moved out. The next owners? They reported strange occurrences every year on March 17th, the same day Lena was born. Somehow, Clara's last birthday replayed. Like a loop. Like the house never stopped expecting guests. And every year, it tried to invite them. Lena realized it had chosen her, perhaps not randomly. Perhaps it recognized something in her. A shared emptiness. A vacancy. And once the house picked someone, it didn't let go. She tried to break the cycle. No mirrors. No clocks. No music. But when the next birthday came, the house prepared. She awoke to the smell of sugar. The dining room was filled with light. Streamers. Confetti. Balloons gently floating as if weightless. And again, the table was full. This time, 12 guests. All turned toward her. Empty-eyed. Silent. And the little girl stood at the head of the table. She pointed to the only empty seat. The one meant for Lena. Lena didn't move. But the girl didn't disappear this time. She stepped forward, face still and pale. Her voice was a whisper scraped through time. You were the last one who didn't come. The party can't end until you do. Lena ran. She fled the house that night and never returned. But the house still stands. And every year, on March 17th, the lights flicker on. Music plays. And 13 candles light one by one. Waiting, always waiting, for the party to begin again. It was supposed to be a small party, nothing extravagant. Just a handful of kids, some family, and a room at the local community center decorated with dollar store streamers, balloons, and a massive papier-mâché donkey piñata that hung ominously from the ceiling. The child, Leo, was turning 7, and while he was shy, barely speaking to most outside his immediate family, he'd been unusually excited for this party. not because of the cake or presents, but because of that piñata. He had pointed to it the moment they walked into the party room earlier that day, eyes wide. "That's the one," he whispered to his mom. "That's the one I saw in my dream." At first, his parents brushed it off. Kids say weird things all the time. But by the end of the afternoon, that piñata would be the only thing anyone remembered. The piñata room wasn't actually on the reservation list. Leo's parents had booked the main party room at the center, but when they arrived, the coordinator explained there had been a scheduling error. Instead, they were shown to a smaller room at the end of a rarely used hallway. The piñata room. The coordinator called it with a half smile. The moment they stepped inside, something felt wrong. The room had a stale quality, like it hadn't been opened in years, despite the faint scent of candy lingering in the air. And yet, the piñata was already hanging from the ceiling. They hadn't brought one. No one remembered ordering it. But there it was, swaying ever so slightly. Watching. The party began as normal. Music, games, cupcakes, parents chatting in the corner. But when it came time to break the piñata, Leo froze. His face went pale. His small hands trembled as he held the bat. "I don't want to hit it," he whispered. "It's not asleep anymore." Most of the adults laughed, thought it was part of the game. But when the first child took a swing, the room suddenly went ice cold. The lights flickered, and the piñata, somehow, shifted its weight like it was pulling itself higher. Not swinging from the rope, climbing. The adults chalked it up to weird lighting, a draft maybe. But the kids grew quiet, unnaturally quiet. Even the youngest one stood still, staring up at the paper eyes of the piñata. Leo walked up slowly, gently placing the bat on the ground. "We're not supposed to wake it up," he said. He turned to his mom, tears in his eyes. "It doesn't want candy. It wants to remember." She didn't understand. Not then. The rest of the party was called off. The room felt wrong. The piñata was left hanging. Later that night, Leo had a nightmare. He described it in vivid detail the next morning. He was alone in the piñata room. The walls were covered in birthday decorations, but not his. Each banner had different names, different dates. All of them marked the same age, 7. He wasn't alone. There were children in the shadows. Not playing, not moving, just watching. And the piñata was speaking in a deep, slow voice that echoed inside his head. "We remember every birthday, every swing, every piece of us that was torn. And now, it's your turn to hang." Leo's parents were disturbed. But what really scared them was what they found the next day. After some investigating, they learned that the community center had once hosted birthday parties decades ago, before a series of incidents led to that hallway being closed off. Between 1972 and 1981, 3 children had vanished during birthday celebrations in that very room. All were turning 7. All had gone missing during the piñata game. No bodies were ever found. The community quietly shut the room down, covered it up, until someone accidentally reopened the reservation list. Leo didn't want to party the next year, or the year after that. He never spoke about the piñata again. But on his 14th birthday, he received a letter. No return address. Inside was a photograph, aged and yellowing. It showed a group of kids at a birthday party. They were all smiling, except one. Hanging in the background was a piñata. Not the donkey this time, but a child-shaped figure, papier-mâché. The face looked like Leo's. On the back of the photo, one sentence was written in shaky handwriting. "We remember, because some rooms remember. Some echoes never stop. And some piñatas were never meant to break." It started with a surprise party. Nina had just turned 24. Her friends had planned everything behind her back. Streamers, balloons, a glittery banner that read, "Happy Birthday, Nina," hanging crookedly across her apartment ceiling. There was a homemade cake, badly frosted but made with love, and the same off-key rendition of Happy Birthday that made her laugh every year. But that was yesterday. She wakes up the next morning, still smiling. The faint scent of vanilla frosting clings to the air. Balloons drift lazily above her head. But something feels off. Her phone buzzes. "Happy birthday." It's from Mark, her ex. They haven't spoken in months. She laughs it off. "Late text," she mutters, until the next one comes in. "Happy birthday, Nina." Party popper, miss you. From Jenna, followed by a dozen others. She glances at the calendar. April 3rd. Still her birthday? She blinks, refreshes the screen. Still April 3rd. She asks Siri, Google, even pulls out her old analog wall calendar. I'll say the same thing, April 3rd. Shrugging, she assumes it's a glitch, a daylight-saving issue, something her brain hasn't caught up with. She goes about her day, slightly amused, replying politely to the stream of happy birthday messages. That night, she sleeps peacefully until she wakes up. April 3rd. Again, same banner, same balloons, same faint hum of off-key singing echoing somewhere just out of reach. Only now, her texts have reset. Happy birthday, Mark again, followed by Jenna. Over and over. Same messages, same sequence, same emojis. She scrolls up. Yesterday's conversation's gone. Even her voicemail is different. It's her mother's voice, sweet and distant. Hey, sweetheart. Just wanted to say happy birthday again. Seems like you're going to be celebrating for a while. There's a strange pause. Then the line clicks. Nina calls her back immediately. Her mother answers cheerfully. Happy birthday, baby girl. Mom, what day do you think it is? Why? April 3rd, of course. Her stomach twists. It's been April 3rd. For 2 days now. There's silence. A breath. Then a laugh, soft and artificial. You always hated aging, remember? Maybe this is your gift. Click. The line dies. The third day is worse. She tries leaving the house. The street seems normal at first. Buses running, people chatting, but something's off. Everyone she passes wishes her happy birthday. Strangers. A homeless man. Even a dog walker whose dog barks the word birthday in a garbled snarl. She runs back home. April 3rd. Still, food in her fridge resets. Her digital clocks flicker at midnight and snap back to 12 a.m. April 3rd. Her own voicemail plays back her voice saying, You can't run from this. You blew out the candle, Nina. She doesn't remember making that recording. By the fifth loop, the balloons start to decay. Slowly, subtly, they sag more. Colors begin to dull. The frosting on the cake looks a little moldy. The singing she hears at night now includes a second voice. Lower, strained, whispering something beneath the lyrics. By the seventh loop, Nina has stopped answering the door. She doesn't want to hear happy birthday again. She covers the banner with a bedsheet, but it reappears the next morning, clean and freshly hung. She tries to leave town. The bus circles endlessly, dropping her off at the same block no matter where she asks to go. Her phone refuses to connect to the internet now. Everything buffers forever. And always, April 3rd. On the 9th day, the cake moves. She swears it does. It's an identical replica every time. Chocolate, poorly frosted, one pink candle, but now it's shifted. Sitting at the edge of the table, almost like it's inching closer. She throws it away. It's back by morning. By day 11, the second voice in the nightly singing becomes clearer. Blow it again. You never meant it the first time. Try again, Nina. She doesn't sleep anymore. She stops eating. On the 12th iteration, her reflection stops syncing with her movements. Her mirror self lags, then smiles on its own. It mouths happy birthday without sound. On the 13th, she finds an old photo album with pictures she doesn't remember. Birthdays she never had. A third birthday with a clown. A fifth birthday at a zoo. A 12th with no one else in the photo but her and someone standing in the corner. Someone blurred. The album wasn't there before. She doesn't remember ever liking birthdays. Her family was cold. Parties were rare. She always felt forgotten. And now, someone remembered. Someone gave her exactly what she wanted. An endless celebration. By the 15th cycle, she tries one last thing. She sets the candle, lights it. The cake doesn't move. The banner doesn't twitch. The air feels still. She takes a deep breath, makes a wish she never thought she'd have to. I want it to stop. She blows out the candle. Nothing happens. The silence is too quiet, until a voice, soft, familiar, whispers behind her. Wishes only work once. She turns around. There's no one there, but the candle's flame flickers back to life. April 3rd. Again, the banner sways. The cake waits, and Nina smiles, blank and hollow, mouthing along to the same warped song. Happy birthday to me. Lena's birthday always felt off. She could never explain it, just a tightness in her chest the moment she woke up, as if her body remembered something her mind couldn't. Every year, the anxiety returned like clockwork. This year, she was turning 26, and it was worse than ever. Her best friend Rachel insisted on throwing a small get-together at Lena's apartment. Nothing big, just close friends, some drinks, cake. Low pressure, promise, Rachel said. That night, everything seemed normal at first. Laughter filled the room. The TV played an old horror movie in the background. The cake was set on the counter, bright pink frosting spelling out her name in swooping cursive. But Lena couldn't shake the feeling. Something was wrong. She kept checking the time. 9:02 p.m., 9:09 p.m., 9:13 p.m. Why did those numbers make her stomach twist? Then, right as they lit the candles, the lights flickered. Briefly, a stutter in the power. Everyone laughed it off, blaming the apartment's old wiring. But Lena went pale. She knew that flicker. She had seen it every birthday since she was 5. It always came before the voice. As the last candle caught fire, time seemed to slow. Everyone around her was smiling, ready to sing. But their faces looked stretched, eyes too wide, cheeks too stiff, like they were wearing masks that didn't quite fit. And then, just like every year, she heard it, low, whispered, in her right ear. Blow out the candles, or else. Lena's breath caught. Her fingers gripped the edge of the table. The voice was always the same. Calm, icy, and unmistakably real. She snapped her head to the right. No one was there. The others didn't react. They were singing now, off-key and cheerful. She stared at the candles. They seemed taller than they should be. And the flames, unnaturally still, like they weren't reacting to air at all. The second the song ended, everyone leaned in expectantly. Make a wish, someone shouted. But Lena was frozen, because she remembered something, a fragment from when she was 6 years old. Her mother whispering urgently in the kitchen, never forget. You have to blow them out. Every year. All of them. The memory had no context. She hadn't thought of it in years. Until now. She blew out the candles. Or she tried. Only half of them went out. The others kept burning. Brighter. Bluer. Suddenly, the entire room shifted. Not physically, but perceptually. Like she had blinked and stepped into a version of her apartment just slightly off. The light from the flames cast long, writhing shadows across the walls. The faces of her friends looked blurred now, as if reality itself couldn't quite render them. Then Rachel leaned in, smiling too wide. You didn't finish, she whispered. You know what happens if you don't finish. Lena staggered backward. I blew them out, she said, voice trembling. No, said Rachel, still smiling, eyes dead. You almost did. And almost isn't enough. The room fell silent. All the laughter, the chatter, the movie noise gone. Everyone just stood there, watching her, unmoving. Then came a sound. A knock. 1, 2, 3, slow, deliberate. From inside the hallway closet. The candle flames turned white. Lena's heart raced. What is this? She shouted. What's going on? Rachel's smile faded. You were told. Every birthday. Blow them out. All of them. If you don't, it comes back. And it wants you to remember. Lena backed away as the closet door creaked open. Nothing came out. At first. Just cold. A wave of unnatural chill that sucked the warmth from the room. Then a shape. Small. Almost childlike. Crawling on elongated limbs. Head twitching at irregular angles. Its skin shimmered like candle wax. And where its face should have been was a melted mess. No eyes, just a stretched mouth full of too many teeth. It whispered in a garbled voice that somehow echoed in Lena's head. You forgot again. She screamed and turned to run, but the door to her apartment was gone, replaced by a blank wall. Her guests were gone too. The only thing left was the cake. And the candles, still burning, still waiting. The creature advanced, crawling over the ceiling now, upside down like gravity didn't matter to it. She remembered now. When she was 5, she had missed a candle. Her mother had screamed at her, drag her out of bed at 3:13 a.m. to relight the cake and blow them all out again. The next year, They skipped her birthday altogether. But ever since her mother died, Lena had started celebrating again, thinking it was just childhood trauma. It wasn't. She felt her knees, sobbing. The creature loomed above her, mouth opening wider. Then, a match struck. Rachel was back, holding a single wooden match. "Finish it," she said softly. Lena relit the remaining candles with shaking hands. One breath. Two. Gone. The lights flickered again. And just like that, everyone was back. Laughing. Talking. Like nothing had happened. The creature was gone. The door returned. Lena stood slowly. Confused. Terrified. Rachel winked at her. "You did good. Just don't forget next year." Lena tried to ask what any of it meant, but Rachel was already handing her a plate of cake. That night, Lena didn't sleep. She stayed up, watching the clock tick past 3:13 a.m. The candles were still in the trash, melted to the wick. She thought she heard something in the walls, but maybe that was just her imagination. Still, next year, she wouldn't forget, because now she understood. You always blow out the candles. Every last one, or else it remembers.